Hey, Olive, Arlo, and Frank. It's Grandpop here in the living room in Jack's Beach and doing another Invite Shakespeare into Your Life video. The one today is on a play called The Tempest. This was one of his latest plays, and it was probably the last one that he wrote by himself. He did co-author a couple plays later in his career, but this is the last one that we know that he wrote. It was written in 1611. So let me tell you what the world was like. What the world in 1611 looked at and looked back on, to give you some context into this play. In 1497, a fellow named John Cabot was the first British explorer to leave England and to start to go around the world and discover places and take over places, all the things that turned out to be the British Empire, part of which is the United States, where we live, was part of the British Empire. So that's 1497. In 1562, the British started carrying slaves from Sierra Leone to the Caribbean. They did a lot of partnerships in their exploring with the Portuguese, and the Portuguese had already set up a pretty thriving slave trade. Now, 2 years after that, in 1564, Shakespeare was born. So I'm sure that throughout his life, he heard many tales. He was one who, had his ear to legend and myth and storytelling, all the things that led him to be able to develop the wonderful plots that he did develop. And so he would be hearing about these explorers and the mighty feats that they did or maybe did, and some of the bad parts too he'd be hearing. Now in 1588, the Spanish sent a whole fleet of ships to England, and they wound up getting into a storm, and it destroyed a lot of the ships, and the British Navy came out and finished off the other one. So there was, it was the start of British naval dominance in the world. In 1600, 11 years before this play came out, the East India Company was started. It was one of the first worldwide corporations, and it was started to actually manage the places that the British Empire was taking over and ruling. In 1603, England got a new king, King James I. He's the guy that the King James Bible was named after, and that actually came out the same year in 1611. James came from Scotland. He was King of Scotland, but he became King of Scotland and England and the British Empire. But there were a lot of people in England that didn't like him. So in 1605, there was something called the Gunpowder Revolution, where they tried to blow up the House of Commons and put all this gunpowder underneath, and somebody, uncovered the plot. People were put to death. And then in 1607, Jamestown, it was the first place that the British stepped onto North America proper and started a colony that would become Virginia. So this story, let me tell you a little bit about the story. It's the kind of story that you would expect to hear sitting around a campfire when people tell scary stories. and they're kind of making them up as they go along. And this story has these things in it: treachery, a shipwreck, and on a mystical island. It's supposed to be an uninhabited island, but it turns out that there were a couple people living there. It has suffering and deception. There's a wizard, a guy named Prospero. There's a character who's a spirit and is also an indentured servant. His name is Ariel. And then there's another who's a half witch. You know, his mother was a witch and his father was a human. And he's a slave to Prospero. And actually, Ariel is an indentured servant of Prospero. So there's 3 people on this island. Prospero, well, 4. He has a daughter too, Miranda. But Prospero is in charge of everybody. He's like, you know, the Saddam Hussein of this island. I think it's called Illyrium. There's even a jester. And finally, in the end, there's forgiveness, there's reconciliation, there's a silver lining. So let's dive into the Royal Shakespeare Company's website and discover the play. So here we are in the Royal Shakespeare Company's website. And you are new to the play, but if it was me, I would probably start right down here. I'm not this good, level 3. There's all kinds of really cool videos on here, but it's not opening them up in YouTube. It's just opening up a video, and I don't want to run afoul of their copyrights on any of this stuff. So I'm sure they wouldn't mind me doing this on here. Some interesting things are, this is an explanation of iambic pentameter. I don't know if I've talked about it before in any of these videos, but you have blank verse and prose. And iambic pentameter is part of blank verse. It's one kind, and it's couplets, and there's 5 of them. But soft what light through yonder window breaks. That's Juliet. I'm sorry, that's Romeo. Talking about Juliet too, but here's one where they just get into a key scene in here, and then this is very interesting. This guy talks about how when he's never seen the play before, and they give him the script, and they say, okay, you're going to try out for this, or you're going to be in this, and how he starts to take it apart and make it into him. Let's look at first the characters. So Prospero, he used to be the Duke of Milan, but his brother usurped him and took over his dukedom, and he wound up being on this island. And then you have his daughter Miranda, spirit Ariel. Ariel is a spirit of the island and Prospero's servant. Caliban is the slave. He is the son of Sycorax, a witch. He was born on the island and is Prospero's slave. Now, before Prospero got there, he was the only human or semi-human on the island, so he ruled the island, even though it wasn't really ruling over anything. I don't think he ruled over Ariel. Ferdinand is the Prince of Naples, the son of Alonso, and we're going to is Alonso's jester. and Stefano's friend. And Stefano is Alonso's butler. He's a friend of Trinculo. So there's all kinds of people. There's these dukes, and there's a prince, right? The Prince of Naples. And then there's common people. Alonso is the king of Naples and Ferdinand's father. Then there's Antonio Catface. He became the Duke of Milan after he overthrew his brother. And then there's Gonzalo, Alfonso's counselor and trusted advisor. So Prospero used to be the Duke of Milan, but his brother Antonio overthrew him with the help of Alonso, king of Naples. These are two, Naples and Milan are in Italy, in current day Italy. Prospero was cast out to sea in a boat with his 3-year-old daughter Miranda, and they landed on a magical island, which they made their home. Now, at the present time, they've lived on this island long enough that Miranda is of marrying age. So she's at least a teenage girl, because they married 13, 16, 17 years on this island. But Alonso, remember him? His brother is on a ship sailing near to the island, and he's with his son Ferdinand and his brother Sebastian, Ferdinand's brother Sebastian, and Prospero's brother Antonio. Prospero knows this, and he uses magic to create a sea storm. All of a sudden, a storm comes, and this is created by Prospero. So Miranda watches the storm and the ship from the shore of the island and asks Prospero to calm the storm down. So she doesn't want anything bad to happen. So apparently, it says Prospero has developed magical powers, or he must have. He creates the storm with the help of Ariel, a spirit, who is his servant. So really, he has control over this spirit guy. And then he also has the brute Caliban. So he wants the storm. So Ariel does what Prospero asks him to, and makes sure all the people on the ship get washed up on the island. He also makes sure Ferdinand is separated from his father Alonso. And this is all stuff that Prospero, the wizard, the guy sent him out on a boat to die. He's setting this thing up. Miranda and Ferdinand see each other, and they fall in love. Prospero pretends not to agree to them getting married straight away, and tests Ferdinand's love. So he's looking for a husband for his daughter, but he's going to test him. 2 of Alonso's servants, Stefano and Trinculo, also get shipwrecked on the island. 2 guys. Well, then Ferdinand, they wind up in 3 different places on the island. They meet Caliban, a creature from the island who Prospero treats like a slave. Caliban hopes Stefano and Trinculo will help him get rid of Prospero. So Caliban's looking at this like, ooh, here's some people here. This guy's making me do all this work, and I'm not getting paid for it. And I was free before these guys got here. So let's overthrow them. Nobles, and tells them they are being punished for how they treated Prospero. Alonso apologizes to Prospero and makes him Duke of Milan again. Prospero then reveals to Alonso that Ferdinand is still alive and is engaged to Miranda. So this is another one where they get to the island and they don't know if other people are alive or not. Ariel punishes Caliban. Ferdinand is still alive and is engaged to Miranda. Ariel punishes Caliban, Stefano, and Trinculo for trying to harm Prospero, and also reveals that the ship is safe and ready to sail back to Naples. I could have gotten into the second, not the third level, but it would have just gone on and on and on, because it is a complicated plot. But it turns out that there was no shipwreck, that Prospero, it's almost like he has these things called the play within the play. Like in Hamlet, there's a traveling troupe that shows up and they put on a play. Well, it's next level stuff, because he's directing everything, just like when you sign up to be in a play and they go, okay, well, you're going to play this guy who gets killed. You don't get killed. But everybody thinks, like, oh, that guy just got killed. Or they don't think on stage, but they know that, oh, that this represents death. And he's directing all these people. Like, okay, I'm going to give you the illusion that there's a shipwreck. And I don't know if Ariel just brought that ship to shore and had them dock it and had them blanked out so they didn't know that this happened. But when they get up, they're wet and they're alone, or they're with a couple people, and they all are being, and for most of this play, Prospero comes off like, I'm just vindictive. I'm just going to smoke everybody. But in this play that he writes, he winds up forgiving those who wronged him. Well, his brother is the real one who wronged him, although the Prince of Naples was in on it. So, how do you study this play? Well, go online and read the plot, just like we just did. This is how do you study any of these plays. Read the plot. Watch a movie production. The Charlton Heston 1970 is one that's out there. And then read the play. Pick something like Arden or Oxford or New Cambridge. I have a complete works by Pelican, and it's pretty good. After you read the play, pick parts and read them out loud. Read Cliff Notes and Spark Notes and other helps that you can find online and at the library. And then finally, go see it in person. Peace out.